Today's lesson is on factoring. Again, so it's factoring. We've already looked at common factoring. We've already looking at simple factoring with a 1 in front. Some of the people call it type 1 trinomial. Some people call this one a type 2, where a does not equal 1. So the number here in front of the x squared is not a 1. So if you look here, we sometimes have not a 1 in front, but it's a common factor. So if you look here, you go 6, 5, and 4. Is there a common factor that I can take out of all of those? There's no common factor. 6, 5, and 4 don't have a common factor. So that 6 is stuck in front of the m squared. There's nothing I can do about that. So if there's nothing I can do about it, I have to factor this. There's two ways of factoring. I'm going to look at one way today, and it's actually the way I kind of prefer. It keeps the numbers a bit smaller. And what we're looking at is we're looking at patterns. So the pattern that we have to look at first is if I had, so let me just take you aside for a second. So if I go like this, if I had 3x plus 2 and say 2x minus 1, like that. You do the first, and then you do the outside, and then inside ones, and last. So the first times the first. If I wrote this like this, so I go 3x plus 2 and 2x minus 1 like that, then what happens is that I always get the first times the first. So see this first arc here. So first times the first, which is this first arc here. So I'm going to multiply these two here. What I do is I write it on what's called like a big X. And I said 3x times 2, so 3x and a 2x like that. Now, this last part here, those are my last numbers. I know that when I expand it, I get the 2 times the negative 1, right? So when I expand it, that's the last times the last. So these two here, I write here on this column. So the first column like that. So I go a 2 and a 1. Those are my two brackets. To get the middle term, so when you're expanding it, I go 3x times 2x gets me 6x squared. 3x times negative 1 gets me negative 3x. 2 times 2 gets me a 4x. And 2 times negative 1 gets me negative 2. So then you add your like terms. You go 6x squared plus negative 3 plus 1 is plus 1x minus 2. So this part here is the factored form. We want to go from here back to the factored form. So what I do is I take this expanded form and I go, okay, but the 6 can be broken to 3x and a 2x. So that starts here. So this first number would go here. Then the second number, that goes in the second column. So that'll be a 2 and a 1. They have to meet in the middle. So I go crisscross to multiply, which is this first. We did the first times the first. We have to do this one here and this one here, the two middle ones. So it'll be 3 times the 1. So 3 times the 1, so I criss, and 2 times the 2, cross. So that's my crisscross in the middle. So this method here, I'm taking my trinomial, and I'm using this crisscross idea to write my two brackets. So I'm going to say, okay, but if I do 3 times 1, I get 3x. 2 times 2, I get 4x. 3x and 4x are these guys. I need it to add to be positive 1, so I'm going to go positive 4 and a minus 3. This is my crisscross positive 4. This crisscross gets me a negative 3. And those are my two brackets that are factored. So what we're trying to do is we're looking for a pattern. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you just this answer, and you're going to work backwards using this crisscross method to get to this factored form. Okay, so let's try it right here. We have 6m squared. Okay, 6m squared. I'm going to do this crisscross over here. So it's called my rough work. So I go 6m. I'm going to break up the 6m and do 3m and 2m. Could I have done 6m and 1m? Yes. Okay, but I'm going to try one thing first. Then, make sure you check for a common factor first. So do a common factor first. So common. Okay, always do common factor first. For sure there's none, right? So then, I'm doing 3 and a 2. The 4 is either going to be product, my product would be 1, 4, or 2, 2. I'm going to take that product and put it over here. So if I do 4, 1, I can do 4 here and 1 here. Then you crisscross to get the middle term. 3 times 1 would get me 3m, crisscross. 2 times 4, 8m. Is there any way I can make 3 and 8 add to negative 5? Yes, as long as it's a negative 8 and a positive 3. Positive 3 minus 8 gets me negative 5. So this is a minus 8. 2 times 4 should get me negative 8. Crisscross, 3 times that should get positive. And these are my two brackets. So I write them 3m minus 4, 2m plus 1. People go, does this always work? Yes, it always works. So this always works. You do your crisscross over there, your big X over there. Now people go, what happens if I did it the wrong way? So what if I started with 3m, 2m, and I tried to put 2 and a 2, wait, it's getting 4, 2 times 2 to get to the 4, because look, there's another possibility. First of all, because we're writing our brackets sideways, are you allowed to put a 2 with a 2 in the same bracket? Because that tells you that there's a common factor of 2. You cannot do common factors beside each other. So I can't even try this method. It would not work. 2 can't be beside 2 because that means it's a common factor of 2 here, and there isn't. So you wouldn't even try the 2 by 2. So someone goes, wait, what if I tried 6 and m to get 6m? First of all, I can't try 2 and 2 to get the 4 here in the second column because 2 can't be beside 6. So can I try 1 and 4? Sure. But when you crisscross, 6 times 4 is 24. M times 1 is m. Is there any way 24 and 1 will ever make a 5? It will never add to be the middle term. So these ones won't work. There's only one right answer. 3m minus 4, 2m plus 1. And when you do your FOIL, you'll get the right middle term. 3 times that, 4 times that, you get the 5. So if you FOIL it, you will get the right answer. So if you do FOIL, you'll get the right answer there in the middle. There's only one answer. There will only ever be one answer. The other ones will come back as not possible, right? The numbers don't match. You get 24 and 1. Okay, so let's try that again. So here, if we take the 10, and yes, it could be 10 and 1 or 2 and 5. I'm not going to try 10. 10 times anything is pretty big, so I try to go to the middle. So I'm going to go, okay, 10. Oh, no, I'm not going to try 10 and 1 because 10 times something is too big. So I'm going to try the more middle term. 5x and a 2x. That always gets me my first term. So this first term always goes in this first column. So that goes in the first one. This last term, that always goes in this last column. And then we crisscross to get to the middle. Crisscross to get to the middle. So for the 4, my product here is going to be 1, 4 or 2, 2. Am I allowed to put 2, 2 here beside a 2? No, because I just said, oh, is there a common factor? There is a common factor. So I have to start this whole question over again. So right away, common factor 2, because I go 2, 2. So I do a common factor of 2, and I'm left with 5x squared minus 11x. 2 comes out of that. 2 divides 2. There we go. So never forget that common factor. And if you do, not a big deal. So I just proved it to you. So you just go, oh, there is a common factor. So if you remember in the second step, that's okay. So then here, you're going to leave the 2 here, and we're going to try to factor this guy. Okay. So then, I can't do 5 and 2 because that's not 10 anymore. So I'm going to ignore this one, and I'm going to start again. So I have 5x times, and how do I get this first term? So now my first term is this one. Right? And I did that on purpose. So look, first term is this one, and then my second term is here, which will go in the second column. So 5x times x gets me 5x squared, right? So that's my first, my second column goes in the second column, and it crisscrosses to the middle. Crisscross to the middle. So 2, so I don't need this. My only product would be 1 times 2. 1 and 2. So I just have to figure out where to put the 1 and the 2. If I put the 1 here and the 2 here, crisscross to get the middle. 5 times 2 is 10x. 1 times x is x. Can I do something with those two to get an 11? Knowing that this is positive, so it's positive, positive, or minus, minus. So if it's positive, positive, or minus, minus, and it adds to be the negative, that would work. So that makes my 5 times 2 should be negative, and x times that should be negative. So these are my two brackets. So you go 5x minus 1, and then here, x minus 2. And this stuff is just my rough work. So that goes here, the bubble stuff goes on the rough paper. You get your answer. I'm going to pause the video here. I'm going to do another video with the other ones.